Aliyah felt a mix of excitement and pride as she strode down the city's lively main avenue. Tonight was a significant event. Her father, the city's mayor, was launching an essential community project close to his heart and equally to hers. She dressed impeccably in a tailored designer outfit, a celebration of the event and a statement of support for her father's vision. Little did she know that her walk through the city streets would be a spark in a much larger fight. As Aliyah approached the event hall, two officers emerged from the shadows, their faces stern and eyes locked onto her. "Stop, ma'am," one called out, his voice stern. Aliyah froze, her heart racing as an uneasy feeling crept in. She had never been stopped before, much less for simply walking down the street, and suspicion was plain in the officer's gaze. "Can I help you, officers?" she asked calmly, though tension knotted her stomach. Her eyes darted to the ID in her hand, yet they seemed uninterested in her words. "We need to see your ID," said one officer, his expression twisting into a look of thinly veiled disdain. "You can't be walking around here dressed like that." His tone left no room for misinterpretation. Aliyah held out her ID, struggling to keep her composure. "I'm the mayor's daughter," she said firmly. "I'm on my way to a public event. This is unnecessary." She hoped her words would ease the tension, yet the officers didn't seem moved. They exchanged a look, and one officer muttered, "You look suspicious." Without further explanation, they signaled her to follow them. Anger flared within her. Was she being targeted solely because of her skin color? Aliyah, breathing deeply, pulled out her phone, deciding to record the encounter. "I'm recording this," she said, her voice resolute. "I haven't done anything wrong, and I want to document how I'm being treated." A small crowd began to gather, drawn by the unfolding scene. The quiet murmurs soon grew into whispers, then loud comments of support. People took out their phones, filming as Aliyah continued streaming the incident live. "This isn't right," one woman in the crowd said, crossing her arms. "She hasn't done anything wrong." Aliyah felt a surge of strength. This was no longer about her alone. She had unintentionally become a symbol, standing against a system that she realized many people around her knew all too well. "Do you want to call my father?" she asked the officers, trying to keep her voice even though her hands trembled. "He'll be here in a few minutes." Realizing they were quickly losing control of the situation, the officers shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the crowd that was now questioning their motives. "What's happening here?" A deep, familiar voice rose from the crowd. Aliyah's father had arrived, his face etched with worry and disbelief. He saw his daughter surrounded by police officers, and his jaw clenched. "This is my daughter," he said firmly, addressing the officers. "I demand an explanation." His presence empowered the crowd even more. People began shouting slogans and chants, their voices weaving together into a powerful, unified demand for justice. "If I were white, this wouldn't be happening," Aliyah said, raising her phone, her voice loud. Enough for the crowd to hear. The crowd erupted, echoing her words with fierce agreement. One officer hesitated, his face pale as he glanced at the other. "We were just following orders," he murmured, his words now weak and uncertain. Aliyah met his gaze, eyes blazing with determination. "Orders don't justify bias," she replied. "Your duty is to protect, not profile." Her live stream had now reached thousands of viewers, with comments and shares pouring in. This incident was no longer confined to a single street. It had become a movement for justice and reform. Her father's eyes softened as he looked at her, pride gleaming amidst his anger. Then, raising his voice to the crowd, he said, "This isn't just about my daughter. It's about everyone here who has ever felt marginalized. I promise you, we're going to change the system." The next day, her father held a press conference announcing a citywide police reform program that would mandate training on racial sensitivity and systemic bias for all officers. Aliyah stood beside him, knowing this was only the beginning. Days later, Aliyah helped organize the first public meeting to address racial injustice. She looked out over the filled hall, where one by one, people shared their own stories of humiliation, pain, and injustice. Each story was a call to action, a reminder that change was overdue. Aliyah felt her purpose sharpen. This was no longer just her story. It was a story shared by so many who had endured in silence. After the meeting, she and her father walked outside into the cool night air, surrounded by supporters. Her father placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, his voice filled with pride. "This is just the beginning, Aliyah. But you've proven that we're stronger when we stand together." As the press continued to cover the movement, Aliyah's words reached far beyond her city. Her story became a symbol, inspiring others to speak up and demand respect and justice. The incident that had started with humiliation was now a beacon of hope for many. And as the first lights of dawn began to break, Aliyah knew she had found her voice, one that could spark real, lasting change.